Well, thank you, Kelly. What you really have here is the administration now this week trying to act like they're backing away from this bad policy. Jay Carney saying, well, we want to talk about this for a year. We've given them a year to think about it. That may actually be almost the most offensive part of this whole idea, that you tell religious institutions you have to do things that are contrary to your faith principles. And by the way, we're going to give you a year to figure out how to accommodate that change in your faith principles. It's offensive. It violates the First Amendment of the Constitution. It shows what happens when the government begins to think that they can not only define health care, but deliver health care. It should not be allowed to stand, and it's just fundamentally a religious principle issue. You know, this is where the government's saying, here's the kind of coverage, the specific kind of coverage you have to give your employees. This particular rule is not even about health care at institutions or anything else. It's about the coverage you have to give your employees. There was just recently a Supreme Court case, 9-0 on hiring at religious institutions. And others at the White House will say, well, we give the church an exemption, which frankly shows how little they understand the whole faith-based institutions of the country. The church extends well beyond the building of the church. If it's a church-run school, if it's a church-run university, if it's a daycare center, if it's a Jewish daycare center or a Muslim community outreach effort, all of those things are part of that faith-based community. And the Supreme Court just ruled 9-0 in an academy case, Hosanna Tabor versus the EEOC, 9-0, that those institutions have specific, different, and protected hiring rights. They also have all kinds of other different, specific, and protected rights because of who they are and because of the Constitution. And you cannot pass laws and rules that violate constitutional principles. That's what this would do. That's why there's been such outrage about it. And it's only one of many instances that could occur if you begin to think that the government can interfere in these areas. And it's about religious liberty. It's not about a specific individual application of that liberty. It's about religious liberty. And so we want to look at things like the rights of conscience, which were mentioned, I'm told, at the Constitutional Convention itself as one of the reasons for the First Amendment. And I understand people's outrage and would join many in the Congress, Democrats, and I believe Republicans, and I believe soon there'll be a number of Democrats saying to the administration, don't go down this foolish path. Don't try to turn America into something it's not, and don't think that you can that the government controls the faith views of the American people. But if you listen to their compromise is we're going to talk to them in a year and figure out how they can comply with this rule. Go back and listen to exactly what they said yesterday, which was we gave them a year to see how they can comply with this rule. It wasn't a discussion of how we can change the rule. It wasn't a discussion of how we can walk away from this. The White House does not need to do this. And whether it's EEOC versus an academy, or the Catholic bishops not getting a grant, or hospitals being told if you don't provide all services, we won't reimburse you for any services. This is systematically happening across the board. This just happens to be something that struck so at the heart of these big institutions that provide lots of health care and lots of education that they're the ones that's driving this debate, not us. It was the Catholic bishops that sent the letter to every parishioner, I think, in America for the last 2 weeks. Or it's the Catholic chaplain of the Army, the head chaplain of the Army, that sent a letter that initially wasn't going to be read. This is a huge, huge issue, and if you listen to what they're saying, they're just trying to change the subject and kick it down the road a year, which may be why they gave it a year to start with. This is about religious liberty, these institutions. You can try to turn it into all the political discussion you want. This is a First Amendment American right. It has nothing to do with who said that when or who said this. This is about this issue right now. And the conscience protection law that Senator Ayotte and Senator Rubio and I filed some time ago, that we all three co-sponsored, anticipated exactly the path that the administration was on. This just became the issue that has really brought public attention to something we've been trying to talk about for weeks now.